right, well, welcome everyone. I'm Betsey Bishop, Senior Executive Director with Touchstone Crystal by Swarovski, and tonight we'll be talking about part 5 of our Sparkle Up series, also known for some of us as our September Success Series. We started this whole thing in the beginning of September, and we talked about the vision of leadership within Touchstone Crystal. What does that look like? How much money can you make? What do you have to do to get there? And the power of the party. Part 2 was all about booking parties from parties. Part 3 was about booking parties when you were not at a party. Part 4 we covered last week in our national meeting night, and it was all about host coaching. And then part 5 is what we're talking about tonight, which is sponsoring and new success and successful new consultant starts. So if you happen to have the participant worksheets, which are available on some of the team pages, that's great. And if you don't, I just want you to take some notes down of the things that are either an ouch or an aha, because that's the stuff that will be actionable for you in particular. Everybody's going to take something different from this training. This is a script, and the company really makes leadership very simple. And so what I'm going to be doing is following this script until I get about 2/3 of the way through. At that point, I'm going to deviate from the script because we have some new best practices that I really want to share with you. Some of this script is about a year old, and we are constantly updating how we do things and our best practices. All of our best practices are coming from what's working in the field. And so we're always monitoring who's doing what and what's working for them. So what I want to do is start sharing my screen. And welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being on this call. We are recording. So what we'll do is we'll hold our questions till the very end. And then that way we can get through this pretty easily. There we go. Someone who isn't muted, can you tell me if you can see this?
We can see your screen.
You can see my screen. All right. Hang on a second. I was just sitting, I was just sitting here looking at this right before. There we go. Okay, there we are. So you can see my Sparkle Up program, session 5. Yes. All right. So, and I apologize. I have to sync my script to the slide. And this is always the challenge, is syncing the script to the slide when you only have to do this every 2 months. Okay. So the first thing that they like for us to do is to do a little bit of a review from the previous weeks, but that's typically what we would do if we were sort of in a small group together and we were able to have more people share and more time to share. Typically, these kinds of things, when they're done live, they can easily be an hour to an hour and a half because of some exercises that we can pull off. But for tonight, what we're going to do is skip over and talk about our agenda. Why sponsor? How we develop a sponsoring mindset, because it's a very different thing from a retail mindset, which is what most of us have. What does the sponsoring process look like? How do we sponsor at parties? What about those objections that people come to us with? And this is where I'll start to deviate from this script. Your role in the new consultant's success, because you really do get to play a great role. And then we'll talk about some action steps and things that maybe you could do next if you decide that you really do want to grow a team. So, and as I said, if you happen to have the participant worksheets, you can start filling in the blanks. So there really are 2 reasons that you'll want to sponsor people onto your team. One is to increase your income by becoming a leader, and the other is to help others by offering them this life-changing opportunity. And so sponsoring has a real win-win objective. When you approach sponsoring by putting other people's needs first, you'll feel great about it because it really feels wonderful to help people achieve their goals, earn the money that they need, and change their lives for the better. When we approach sponsoring with only our own needs in mind, focusing only on our own goals, that's when it can feel uncomfortable. That's when we can feel like we're being pushy. We feel uneasy knowing that we are benefiting when we get them, in quotes, to join our team. And when we take this approach, sponsoring seldom works. But when you focus on sharing the gift that you have, on offering an opportunity to fulfill someone else's need, then that's the win-win for both of you. And then you'll feel great about the income you're earning because you're supporting your new team member and ensuring that it's a great fit for them and that they're set up for success. So let's dive in and talk about how you can start helping others benefit from the same great benefits that you are. In in session, we spent a good deal of time talking about the 3 PSAQs: personally sponsored, active, and qualified. Those are the people that you need to promote to group leader to start earning more money. So today's session is so important because the only way to grow through our leadership program is to sponsor new team members continually. You don't want to stop at 3. 3 will get you to group leader, but continuing to sponsor makes all the difference. And you'll always want to have a list of your next maybe 5 or more potential sponsors, whether they're your hosts, your party guests, people that you meet or you know. Keeping your sponsoring pipeline full is the way to keep your business growing. Although sponsoring is the most important thing that you can do to grow your business, ask yourself, am I really offering this opportunity to everyone? Am I asking people if they're interested in the opportunity? And is my sponsoring effort focused on helping others? So just as we talked through booking objections in the last 2 sets, or in parts 2 and 3, today I'm going to share some of the consultant objections or hesitations that we often hear when we're talking to people about the business. And after today's call, hopefully you'll realize that these objections may have actually been standing in between you and a great big paycheck. So we're going to talk about some of those common concerns that you might have. Consultants don't ask because they forget that the benefit is twofold. They feel awkward making money off of someone, in quotes. But the benefit is mutual when it's the right fit. You just need to make sure it is a good fit for your prospect. Second, and this goes along with the first point, they're afraid to come off as being pushy, but don't worry, pushy doesn't work. You have a great opportunity with Touchstone Crystal, and you should be excited to share it. Think about the last sale you hit at the mall, and I bet you couldn't wait to call a friend, tell them about it so they could benefit too. And sponsoring is pretty much the same thing. Your Touchstone Crystal business is putting extra money in your pocket each month. Wouldn't you want others to benefit too? And you know, this is my Betsey thought about this pushy thing. Honestly, the people who are worried about being pushy will never be pushy. The ones who will never say to me, I'm worried about being pushy, they're the ones that I worry about. The third most common hesitation is they don't want to hear someone say no. But hearing no doesn't mean I don't like you, no, it's a terrible idea, no, I'm offended you even asked me. It just simply means no, it's not for me. And that's okay. This is definitely not for everyone. And it might not be for them right at this moment. It might be for them later on. If the salesperson at the shoe store offers to sell you some socks that are on sale to go with your new shoes, do you get mad or offended? Do you like her any less because she offered you a deal? No, you just don't want the socks. It's the same thing. It's just a matter of fact. The fourth reason that sometimes we don't offer the business to people is that people often prejudge who would or would not be interested in the opportunity without even asking them. You might think to yourself, she's too busy, she makes too much money, she doesn't wear a lot of jewelry, she's really shy, she's too old, she's too young, she's whatever. But it's just not our job to decide for them. It's our job to ask and to put forth our best offer. And the last most common reason is that newer consultants think they are too new to sponsor. They think that they need to know all the answers to help someone else in the business, but that's just not the case. The leader will partner with you and help you get your new consultants off to a strong start. And in the process, she'll be giving you valuable leadership training, and then you'll be able to do it on your own. Besides, some of the most enthusiastic consultants are brand new, and honestly, your enthusiasm is the key. All right, so let's shift. I'm going to stop sharing for a quick second and make sure I've got everybody muted so that you guys can talk if you need to. See who we've got. Okay, good. I think we've got it. All right, let me go back to sharing my little screen. Okay, the sponsoring mindset. So the sponsoring mindset is growing and managing your business through a clear focus and dedicated effort towards sponsoring, not selling jewelry. Having a sponsoring mindset means you're always looking for your next potential team member, not just the next potential sale. A sponsoring mindset will help you grow your business stronger and faster. And when you have that sponsoring mindset, It means that you know that the sponsoring is not about you and what you need. It's about helping others fulfill their needs. A sponsoring mindset is knowing and believing that you have a special gift to share, and you can't possibly know who needs the benefits. So you've got to keep your ears open to clues and offer the opportunity to everyone. You know, the heart of leadership is about helping other people. And think about what this business has done, or what it will do for you in the future. Why are you thankful? Why are you grateful that someone else offered the business to you? How would your life be different if you didn't have this? If that person hadn't suggested it to you? All of these reasons will remind you why it's so important to offer the business to other people. This is my very favorite quote, and I'm just so thankful that they continue to include this in all of our sponsoring trainings. You can have everything in life that you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. And this is where ignoring retailing the jewelry and booking parties really becomes important in sponsoring, because you can only do so much at a party, for example. And so if you're going into a party knowing that you're going to sell jewelry, knowing that you're probably going to book some parties because you've got those keys in place, and that your number one goal is to simply go in and staff your team, that changes everything. And so there's some ways to do that from a technical standpoint too, but the sponsoring mindset is erasing the fear that you're not going to sell, and it's focusing on the people at the party and figuring out what are the clues that you're looking for so that you can offer the business to these people. So the sponsoring process from start to finish rarely happens in one conversation, and in most cases it's a process that begins at the party by planting some seeds and ends up with a follow-up conversation, maybe another party, maybe an opportunity event of some kind, maybe a little bit of time. Today we're going to focus on what you do at your parties that can influence sponsoring, including things like building rapport, which means getting to know somebody, finding the right benefits by asking good questions, sharing your why story, planting sponsoring seeds throughout the party, and offering the opportunity to learn more. That's all you're offering. It's not like, oh, come join me now. It's, do you want to hear a little bit more about this? So you'll want to partner with your leader, who's going to help you in the second phase, where you learn to follow up to answer her questions, help her come to a decision, and plan a successful start to her party, to her business with her launch party +4 success formula. And that's where the sponsoring and the success of the new consultant are very much dovetail before she even signs up. Okay, so sponsoring at parties. Let's talk about how you can influence sponsoring at parties, but first I want to review a couple of key points about how sponsoring is a numbers game, how host coaching plays such an important, critical role, and then we're going to talk about what to say and what to do to grow your team. Okay, remember we talked about the idea of holding 8 parties a month in sessions 1 and 2 to grow a business. Now, I know that most of us are not going to do 8 parties. There are some of us who do. Many of us are willing to do 4 parties with a goal of $3,000 in sales. The really neat thing is that at each of those 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 parties, you want to strive to set a goal to schedule at least 3 people to follow up with about the business, just regarding how they feel about this, what they might be looking for, if they have any tiny little kernel of interest in this. And then we talked about how good recruiters will sponsor 1 consultant for every 4 parties they hold. And this chart helps to break down that calculation a little bit. If someone is doing 8 parties, they invite, you invite 3 people to an opportunity call or to an event or for a conversation, then, you know, basically you're going to end up with, let's see here, I don't know that their numbers are right. 8 parties a month, 3 people, total guests per month invited. So then suddenly you've got, actually, if you've got 8 parties and you've got 3 people invited, then you've got 24 people invited. But if 1 out of 4 are going to actually take you up on it, what do these numbers mean? Total guests per month invited, that number should be 24. And if 1 out of 10 ends up joining, you're probably going to have 2 people sponsored out of that 24. The interesting thing is that when you hold 4 parties a month, at the same ratio applies. I mean, statistics show that you're going to bring on about one person per month with 4 average parties, as long as you have good attendance. And that's what we're going to talk about next, is this, remember the party success formula and how host coaching plays into that. So it's not just the number of parties you're doing, it's the attendance at the parties that matters, because we got to get in front of enough people, right? So remember the party success formula. It's 40 invited guests, lead to about 10 in attendance. If you have 10 in attendance, you should be able to learn to invite 3 people to hear about something about the business. But here's the thing, if you don't put the effort into host coaching to ensure those 10 guests, you might not have enough guests to get 3 interested in the business. But I want to say this, think about, sometimes we end up at parties with 3 or 4 people, and we worry that we're not going to get any bookings, we're not going to get any business leads. There's something very interesting that happens in the dynamics of a party with a few people. If you do your presentation and you do your why and you talk to people about the business in a smaller setting, you're just as likely to book parties and get people interested in the business. And I think it's because of the intimacy of the setting and the fact that you can get to know people that much better when there aren't 10 around. And instead, maybe there are 4 or 5. So don't give up. Even if you don't have 10 people there, I still really believe from experience that you can have excellent results in your sponsoring and in your bookings. Okay. So with great host coaching, you have a nice full house of potential hosts and consultants to get to know. Let's focus on making the most of the 2 hours you have with them to share the opportunity. Now, for me, when I am driving to that party, I'm thinking about what my goals are. It's so important to me to go to that party with my mindset focused on who am I going to meet tonight, who might want to join my team, who am I going to meet that needs Touchstone crystal, who am I going to meet that's going to be sharing little seeds with me that will allow me to offer this to them. And that's my philosophy. If I go in only worried about, am I going to sell any jewelry tonight, I'm never going to sponsor, and I'm not going to book any more parties. Okay, so we're going to talk through the main party components. Now we've got our mindsets, right? We're going to build rapport. We're going to share our why story. We're going to plant seeds. We're going to offer the opportunity with a compliment or benefit offer, and we're going to invite people to start their own business to learn more. So just as we talked about with bookings, building rapport is the most important part of sponsoring. And it's about creating a connection. It's about who you are being, not what you're doing. Building rapport is what will draw people to you and make them feel comfortable with you. It's all about being friendly. One of the best things, this is from me to you, this is not in the script. One of the best things that you can do at a party is to simply be the friend. Pretend that you already know them, that you already like them, that you're already friendly with them. You don't need to be distant with people. You can chat with people as if they're friends of yours already. And there's just something about a warm, friendly person that other people gravitate to. You're going to build rapport with people really easily if you simply help them to see that you already like them. That's a very important component. So you're going to greet the guests and introduce yourselves. You might create name tags for people as they arrive, or put a sticky note on their catalog. And remember to talk with each person that way, and it'll help you to remember their names. Also, consider getting to the party early enough to get all set up so you're not playing with jewelry while the guests are arriving, because you end up missing really good time to talk with people. Find the right benefits that they might need from the opportunity, but that means asking questions and listening. Try to find out 5 things about each guest in a conversational manner, so that to see how they might benefit from the business. So you might start thinking, okay, what kinds of questions could I ask? Start making a little list of the kinds of questions that you're comfortable with. Where'd you come from just now? Were you at work or were you at home? What do you do? How do you like it? How do you know the hostess? What did you do this summer? What are you doing for the holidays? Do you have any vacations coming up? Anything that you can think of to just strike up a conversation, to see where you can build a common thread between you. I like to find the thing that I have in common with that person. That's always been my approach, because I might learn that we both have a daughter named Claire, or I might learn that we both have a golden retriever, or I might learn that we both went to the same college, and so I'm always looking for that thing that builds a little bridge between that guest and myself. Maybe it's just a personality trait or a funny little quirk or a funny joke that we both happen to share. Maybe we both just went to the same restaurant. But it's funny, building that rapport literally sets the stage for everything else that you're going to do at that party. So call the guests by name, use their name when you can, use the name tags if you have to, give genuine compliments, because again, that's a bridge builder. That's all we're trying to do. We're not being fake, we're not being manipulative. We're coming up with a way to bring the best out of other people, to show them that we see the best in them. It's the I see you concept. It's I see you helping at the jewelry table. I see you with your pretty new haircut. I see how cute you dressed. I see how nice you were to that person. There are some ways that we can do the I see you and make people feel really good when they're with us. We want to make it fun. Don't take yourself too seriously. Be sure to have a good time and just be one of the girls. Because if you're having fun, others are going to want to do the same. And the last thing is, seriously, you have got to be duplicatable. If you've got a 40-minute setup, somebody on this call and I were just talking about this the other day, because I want you to understand that if you've got a hard setup and you're exhausted and sweaty by the time you're all set up with your jewelry, they are not going to want to do what you do, any of them. And it's cool. Use your party cards. Look up stuff in the catalog. People say, they'll say to me, how much is this necklace? And I'll say, I don't know. I've got two answers. One is what I think it is. The other one is what it really is. Let me go find out. And so I just make a joke out of it. I have to make it look easy. Seriously, ladies, if you look perfect, if you're like, oh, I've got to say this perfectly, I've got to do it all, I can't make any mistakes, you're going to be scary. They're not going to want to try to do what you do because they can't. Nobody can do that. Okay. We're going to go to the sponsoring opening. So when you show up at the party with a sponsoring mindset, you're going to want to make sure you're planting a seed right at the very beginning of your presentation. Hey everyone, let's go ahead and get started. I'm Betsey, your Touchstone Crystal Consultant for tonight, and I want to thank my host Wendy for having all of us here, and I want to thank each of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to support our host. And I promised Wendy that I would make sure tonight is fun, fast, and easy for you and for me. I am really lucky to be able to introduce all of you to Touchstone Crystal by Swarovski. And you know what? Watch what I do, see how easy it is, because you never know, it might be a great way for you to make some extra income. And then make sure that the party is easy and fun and fast, especially your presentation. Okay, step 4 in the 5-step party presentation is sharing your why. Sharing it in 30 to 60 seconds is a great way for people to get to know a little bit about you while learning more about what the business can do for someone, anyone. You got to be honest about your goals, especially if your goals have changed. And if you've started making a little extra money and now you're working to replace a full-time income, that's a great story. It shows how the business can be scaled to so many different needs. So these are the kinds of things, but you've got to keep it short. We can't let them go, oh, here we go. There we go. Now we're in for the big spiel. In fact, what I say before I do my why, this is after I finish my booking offer, I say, hey, I'm almost done. I got one last thing. I would have never believed you in a million years if somebody told me that I was going to sell jewelry in women's living rooms. And then I dive in and I spend 45 seconds on my why. And then I bridge to the questions. Because the questions lead into, and this is not really covered, but when we do those 5 questions, so what I'll do is I'll say, okay, I'm almost done. I've got 90 seconds left, and I'm going to bribe you to talk to me. I have 5 more tickets to give away, and I'm going to let you quiz me about this whole business thing, and you can ask me anything about the company. It could be, how much does it cost to start Touchstone? How much can you make in a month? If as an average consultant doing a party a week, maybe, and where's our next incentive trip and what I have to do to get it. So I've got 90 seconds. Who wants to go first by asking me a question? I've got 5 tickets to give away. And then, so now I've already told them what kind of questions they could ask. I've told them that this is going to be quick, right? Because I don't want them thinking that this is going to take forever, and then I'm going to stand there on my soapbox for the next 10 minutes while they're waiting to get their next glass of wine. You got to keep it succinct. Here's why we do the question and answer. It's so that we can see who's asking the questions, because we're looking for those people who are curious. It's an interesting concept, though, but think about it. Then I can go back to Susan, who asked me the question about the trip and say, hey, Susan, thanks for asking me that question about where our next trip is. Were you just being really nice, or were you actually really curious? Okay. We have to follow up, because these are clues. People asking us a question, they might just be nice, and that's great. And we want to thank them for being nice and helping us out up there, while we're sweating, right? But maybe they're not. And that's one of the key things that we can be doing. Okay, during this whole Q&A. So you want to practice your natural transition from the why story. Direct sales is a bit of a mystery, blah, 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 and use your starter questions, giving tickets to those who ask the questions. All right, so it's all about planting seeds. So let's talk about what those seeds might be. Here are some of the examples. You could pick a piece of jewelry from the starter kit and say, this piece costs about as the same as the starter kit. Or for the price of a trip to Target, you can start your own business. You could show off, maybe if you have some Swarovski incentives, bring them. And you can show how you get some fun stuff. And then you can even plant little seeds. Like, I love getting out of the house and having adult conversation a couple times a week. So there are just different ways of highlighting things about the starter kit, things that you love about the business. And talking about the jewelry, a lot of times people ask me about all that jewelry, and they'll say, do you own all this jewelry? And I say, I absolutely do. And honestly, I hardly paid a penny for any of it. Most of it came to me for free or 70% off. And they go, whoa, how'd that happen? Or I could talk about how much some of the people that I know of on the Star Thrower team are earning in their first month in business. And talk about how much at an average party the consultant earns, things like that. So you can, just depending on the opening, not just of the questions during the Q&A, but also around the table, you can plant seeds along those lines. Okay. So offer the opportunity to each guest during the checkout chat with maybe a compliment or a benefit offer that it could sound like something like this. It's up to you. Hey, Janine, I noticed you're really quite the professional. People like you make really good consultants. It might give you an opportunity to earn some extra money for that new furniture. Any chance you want to take a look at this? Now, the words that they use in here are, what do you think? Would you like to try it? To me, I think that's cutting to the chase way too fast. I like to be a little more subtle than that. And so I might compliment them on, I love the way you were helping out around the jewelry table, or you sure do love all of this. Why don't you think about selling it with me? That's a little bit on the bolder side, but depending on her personality, I might be a little bit on the bold side and just kind of, with my elbow in her rib, especially if we've built a rapport that evening where I feel like I can kind of tease her and joke with her a little bit. I'm going to be watching for those little openings. Maybe she said she's looking for, maybe she loves to vacation. Maybe they have 3 girls in cheer and they need a little bit of extra money. And, you could go straight, you could, so think about it. Let's say that gal has three daughters who are all in cheer. You could say, oh, cheer girls all like jewelry. So that's the retail side of it. Why don't you get them all some jewelry for their cheer uniform? So that's how you sell jewelry to them. Or it might be, hey, I could do a fundraiser for your cheer team. That's to book a party. But it could be, I know cheer costs a whole lot of money. Are you looking for something fun to do? And you could be selling to all those cheer moms, right? So that's about the business. So you're taking the same person, same scenario, and going at it from a retailer, from a booking, and from a sponsoring perspective. Always go to the sponsoring perspective first, because you want to offer your best thing first. Okay. So we talked about using the compliment and the benefit offer. One thing that you can then do is maybe invite people to an event or an opportunity call. We do our opportunity calls every Monday night at 7:30. And so you can give that to people and you can say, hey, listen, I don't know if you'd be interested, but every Monday night, our team actually does a business opportunity call just for people who are at least a bit curious. Let me give you the information in case you want to hop on and take a look, right? And you have to be just, you have to be a little bit careful in your verbiage, casual but intentional in your verbiage, casual and intentional. It really matters, because if we're scary and too intent, we might really put them off. Okay. So a follow-up script. So follow-up is very important. And if you say that you're going to follow up with them, then make sure you do it. So, you want to focus on the benefit that they were most interested in. So let's say Wendy, my hostess, is interested in the business. And so I might call her the next day and say, you mentioned that you were curious about the business. If you were to do this, what would be fun about it for you? What would it be? What would that be like for your family? And I would ask other questions like, have you ever done anything like this before? And what was that like for you? Or I might say, if you were to do this, how much time would you want to spend on something like this? Would you want to go out the door once a week or once a month or twice a week? Or what do you think would work for you? And so you want to get a feel for her when you're starting that next conversation, kind of warm her back up into what she was thinking that made her interested in the first place. And asking those questions become really important because that'll help get the dialogue going. It's never on us to control the outcome of the situation, but we can certainly we can certainly determine the process. And the process has everything to do with asking really good questions. Now, we're going to run into a lot of objections. I don't know. I'd like to, but I'm really too busy. I'd like to, but I could never stand up and talk to people like you do. I'd like to, but I can't afford to invest in a kit. So we're going to hear those kinds of things. And so there are some ways that the company is suggesting to handle these. I actually have other ways of handling them. And so I want to go back to them. So let's say someone says, I wish I could do it, but I'm honestly just too busy. That's, to me, I've just thought of 5 questions. I would say, well, so fill me in. What kind of things are you busy with? I would get her talking about what she's busy with. And I would say, if you weren't busy, why would you want to do something like Touchstone? So I want to address the fact that I know she's busy, and I'm not trying to talk her out of the fact that she's busy. But if she wasn't busy, what would be fun about this for her? Because I want to get her really thinking and processing out loud about that. Because sometimes it's not about us overcoming their objections. It's about them setting their objections aside because they want something far more important. This whole thing, I'd like to do this, but I could never stand up and talk to people like you do. And I would honestly say, tell me what you mean by that. What do you mean you could never stand up and talk to people like I did? Because I don't know what she means. Does she mean that she's never done it before and doesn't think she could learn it? Does it mean that she once threw up on an audience because she got so sick? I mean, I don't know what she means. I need to know what she means. Does that make sense? And so we have to understand the objection. And so maybe she's like, well, I don't know. I've just never been good at in front of a crowd. And so then you say, well, setting that part aside, what else would be fun about this for you? If that wasn't a thing, what else would you like about this? Right? So sometimes, like I said, grab that objection and try to set it aside mentally for just 30 seconds and get her to talk about the other thing. Because like I said, sometimes the objection can be set aside by them if they start to realize that the benefit to them outweighs the original objection. Same thing. I can't afford a kit. Okay. That's when I say to them, what a lot of people say that. I hear that from a lot of people. I totally understand. We start new consultants strong. And the way that we do that is by setting up a launch and 4 more parties in your calendar. And we can do that before you ever sign up. You don't have to have a kit and a PIN number and a website in order to book parties. So what would you think about if this is actually something that you wish you could do, but the money thing is a thing? What if we sat down and tried to figure out how to actually create a party calendar for you? Because the reality is if you've got 5 parties on your calendar, you're going to make plenty of money and you're going to have way more than what it would cost to invest in a kit. Something to think about. Because we don't know. That might just be sort of, what do you call that? Stonewalling. It's just like an excuse as opposed to an actual objection. Okay, so let's see, where are we? Okay, I'm too busy. I can never stand up. I can't afford the kit. All right, so there are 2 options, ladies. And I forget this sometimes because I tend to fall into the second one. We can make progress in our sponsoring, or we can make excuses about why we can't. If you feel like you have tried to sponsor and you've gotten nowhere, I want you to understand that your curiosity about why you haven't been able to will literally change everything. It's all about your curiosity and whether you're willing to make changes or just simply say, nope, I just can't do it. Nope, I've already tried, I can't do it. Your curiosity alone is going to change the trajectory of your business. So what we do when we're talking to potential consultants is we start sharing with them about how we start people with a launch and 4 more parties and 3,000 in sales, that they get the swan necklace, which is the Swarovski icon. We don't even carry that in our line, but it's something that new consultants only can access, and that you can achieve something called sparkler status, which gives you $1,000 in jewelry and almost $1,000 in income in that first full month in business. And that kind of a start will make you a really solid, happy consultant, because that's what we want for people. And so we have ways of helping them. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing our screen. So we have ways of sharing with them how to not be overwhelmed by this concept. And the way that we do it is when they're pretty much ready to get started, we open up the Ready, Set, Glam guide and we show them the why worksheet. And we say, I want to look at 4 things with you. Since you're pretty serious about this, I want to take you through 4 key things, because this is how we would help you to start successfully. And the first one is the why worksheet. Why would you be getting started? If you were to start, why would you be getting started? Let's take a look at this. Let's flesh this out a little bit and talk through it. So we would spend a couple minutes on that as she's considering doing this business. The second thing that we would do with her is to talk about her calendar. So I would pull out first full month calendar out of the Ready, Set, Glam guide. And I would say, okay, if you were to do this, and I were to say to you, let's figure out when your launch party could be, maybe sometime next week or the week after, where would it fit in your calendar? And she would say, well, maybe this date. And I'm saying, yeah, I'm not saying you have to start. I'm just saying this is what we would do. Let's play along here. And then I would say, okay, the following week, if you were to find a date, a night open for a party, where would it be in here? And remember, we're just kind of playing a little exercise to show you how we do this, but this is the best way to kind of wrap our head around how a new consultant gets started. I'm saying this to her. Okay, and then the third week, are there any dates in there where you would want to do a party if you could? Okay, how about the fourth week? Where would you squeeze a party in? Oh, you've got Tuesday and Friday? Okay, great. And so what I'm trying to do is help her to see that calendar control is everything. It's within her capability of doing a party a week or thereabouts. It's within her, it's within her right to have a say over her calendar. I want her to see the calendar control is everything. Then the third thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to take long to do this, is I'm going to show her that 100 contacts and counting sheet in the Ready, Set, Glam guide. And I'm going to say to her, listen, I would rather stick pins in my eyes than have to sit down here and write out 100 names, because that's something that I can do. But if you were to offer parties to people, let's make a pretend list of who you'd be offering them to. Let's just pick a couple of these categories here. How about neighbors? Can you think of 2 neighbors that you would offer a party to? Yeah, probably Mary and Elaine. Why would you offer a party to Mary? She's got a great house and she just redecorated. Okay, how about Elaine? Oh my gosh, she's got a million friends from all over. Okay, great. So let's put their names down. What about the PTA, this group here, because I know you're in the PTA. What are 2 or 3 names? So I'm helping her just to brainstorm. That's all we're doing is brainstorm, so that she can see how easy it can be to get started. So maybe we'll spend 4 or 5 minutes on that. And then I'm going to show her the swan necklace for the launch +4. And I'm going to show her the glam plan and what happens when she hits sparkler. So now she's thought about her why. She's thought about when she could do parties if she wanted to, if she were to start. She's already thought about who she might be booking parties with if she did. And now she's already seeing what she could get. So we've got the why, we've got the when, we have the who, and we have the what. It's 4 little things. And we can do this with a potential consultant when she's pretty interested, right? We're not gonna do it with somebody who's just kind of kicking the tires. But we can say, hey, I've got an exercise that I can run through with you if you're curious to see how we start new consultants. You wanna do that? And we use the Ready, Set, Glam guide to do that. So this is where the sponsoring, remember I said there's sponsoring and then there's new consultant success. and you think, oh, I sponsor her, she signs up, boom, is the dividing line, and now she's starting, and now I'm going to start her strong. It's not that. It's very much a blurring of the lines, and the goal is, I mean, think about how amazing it would be if she goes, you know what, this is a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be, just wrapping my head around it. I can do this. Let's go ahead and get started. And you say, great, when do you want to do your launch party? Let's keep working on this list, and let's get you signed up so you can get your kit. So, okay, so I think that's as far as I want to go for right now. Let me go ahead and take some questions because we've talked long enough about it. What questions does this prompt for all of you? And you can unmute individually. I probably won't unmute all of you. Put my glasses on so I can see you. What were your ahas? What were your uh-ohs? Any uh-ohs? Uh-oh, I never did it that way. Or aha, I want to do it this way now. And you'll have to unmute. Nobody wants to share their really good ideas. Okay, well, that's okay. I so appreciate you all being on. Feel free to work with your upline leader or your upline senior director on the concepts that you learned tonight that were new and unusual or fresh for you. Because if it's new and unusual or fresh, we're likely to forget it if we don't share it with somebody else, if we don't write it down, talk about it with somebody else. And if you know it's a good idea and you know that you want to do something different, get a little accountability for yourself, because it's really going to help you change the way that you're doing these things. So I hope this was really helpful for you. We are such a small company, ladies. I know we gave out $20 million in commissions last year, but seriously, the sky is the limit, and every one of you can take your business to whatever level you want it to go to. There's literally nothing stopping you. So I hope this was really helpful to you. And this was the final in our 5-part series. If you missed any of the other 4 pieces, you can go to my YouTube channel. I'm 55 years old and I have a YouTube channel. I don't get it. Didn't mean to, sorry, but that's what it is. But the other 4 are on there. Parts 1, 2, and 3 are listed as such. Part 4 is listed under the national meeting night from last Tuesday night, and that includes the host coaching portion of it. You'll have to flip through, fast forward toward the end of that to get to that, the host coaching portion. And
Betsey,
yeah.
Sometimes going back like tomorrow, like I might go back and watch the video again just to write down some more notes. And
that's such a good idea.
So I think it's kind of cool that I really appreciate you guys recording this. Sometimes you can't write fast enough to keep up with you.
I know. I'm very much the same way. And there's so much meat in this topic and in that 45 minutes. It's a lot to digest at once, especially if you're a little new or a little unsure. So thank you for that idea. I think that's a really good one. Thanks.
Can you put your YouTube information somewhere for us?
I'm not sure. I don't know, because you know how I find it is I Google myself. So I type in YouTube and Betsey Bishop, Betsey with an E-Y, B-E-T-S-E-Y, Bishop, B-I-S-H-O-P, and my channel comes up. That's all I know. It's like the magic of the internet, right?
Okay, I'll Google that then.
I know. Isn't that silly that I couldn't, I could probably figure it out, but Wendy looks like she's trying to say something. Or she's just laughing at me. It's one or the other. You're muted, Wendy, so whatever you're trying to razz me about, I can't hear you. So you'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay, so yes, I was laughing at you too.
I know.
No, I think the why story, I think a lot of times people struggle with what to say in their why story. So I like what you did, that just to keep it really simple as to why you joined, what's better, what it's done for you, and what you love most about it. I think that makes it easy to grasp, and it's not a long story.
No. And you definitely don't want to get emotional in your why story, because when you get emotional with your why story and it becomes like I had this tragedy and it pulled me out of my tragedy, the problem is I understand that that's cathartic and it's all truth. But the problem is, if your goal is to sponsor with that, it pigeonholes you into, that's the only reason somebody would do Touchstone Crystal, is to get themselves out of tragedy, right?
Right.
And so you'd have to find another way. You'd have to find another simpler way of explaining. I had some, just like most women, I had a major transition in my life, and Touchstone Crystal has given me such a wonderful outlet for growth and fun, right? And so, making it a little more generic rather than personal and painful and all that, you can save that for, for maybe talking to your team or for more heartfelt sponsoring conversations, but not in a group. You got to keep it. Yeah. Good point, Wendy. Exactly. Anything else? All right, ladies. Crazy about you all. Thank you so much for being on. I hope it was great help to you. And I cannot wait to see what happens next. I'm so excited for you guys.